folks, and welcome to the Horror Corner. A man that every time he enters my crypt, it's like a stake through my dead black heart. I can whip you up a hubby down in the lab. Good evening, folks, and welcome to the Horror Corner. I'm your host, Sean Patrick Gersh, and this week we're doing another movie review. This is The Munsters. Written and directed by Rob Zombie, starring, of course, Sherry Moon Zombie as Lily Munster, Jeff Daniel Phillips as Herman Munster, and Daniel Roebuck as Grandpa, a.k.a. the Count, because he's not a grandpa yet, because this is an origin story about the Munsters family. So yeah, the film is in full color, unlike the TV series, which was all black and white. And I've heard a lot of people say that they should have filmed this in black and white, and maybe that would have been cool, but I kind of like it in the color. And I think that's the best thing about this movie, is it's so colorful and vivid and bright and creative. I like the direction by Rob Zombie in this film. But unfortunately, it's the same old thing that plagues all of Rob Zombie's films for me, and that's the fact that I don't care for him as a writer. Because this movie has cringe-worthy dialogue. Let me tell you, some of the worst dialogue I've heard in a movie in a long time. So yeah, I have not been a big fan of Rob Zombie because of that problem. I feel like it's so frustrating. I feel like he's his own worst enemy, because he always feels the need to have to write the screenplay for his movies. I don't know why he can't leave that to somebody else. I understand that it's his vision and he wants everything to be exactly the way that he wants, but I think it would have made more sense to have someone that has experience in comedy, you know, and maybe some actors that have experience in comedy too, instead of using his kind of usual rogues gallery of actors that he uses, people like Richard Brake, who plays Dr. Wolfgang in the film, and Sherry Moon, of course, you know, a lot of his actors that he uses in all his films. And I know you get away with kind of the budget too with that, you know, because you use people that you were friends with, you know. So it's easy, you don't have to hire these big famous actors, you know. But yeah, to me it would have made a lot more sense to have people that are experienced in comedy, because I think that's the biggest problem with the film, is that these jokes just do not land, they fall flat. But I will say that the guy that plays Grandpa, Daniel Roebuck, does a fantastic job. He does nail it, you know. He gets all the mannerisms of Al Lewis from back in the TV series. He's just great. I love him. And I will give credit to Sherry Moon Zombie for trying, you know. She tried her damnness to capture the spirit of Yvonne DiCarlo in the classic series. So much to the point that I think she maybe did it too much, you know, like she might have tried too hard. It might have been better if she put her own kind of flavor into the character of Lily, but, you know, I give her a lot of credit for that. She definitely gave it her all, you know, and I admire her spirit, you know. She does look cool. She's got a great look. I love the costume design in the film, so I will give credit where credit is due with Rob Zombie, you know, great costume design. And the film is extremely colorful. You got these bright lights coming from everywhere. It kind of reminds me of a Dario Argento film like Suspiria or Inferno or something. You got green lights coming from here, red lights coming from here, yellow lights coming from the ceiling. But it's great. You got a lot of cool, like, kind of 60s, like, throwback stuff, like the flowers in the backgrounds and these weird like green screen backgrounds. There's a lot of CGI backgrounds and green screen stuff, but I like the way he does it. It's very creative. And another thing that I had a big issue with was Herman Munster, one of the most important characters that, to me, if you don't get Herman Munster right, it's just not going to work. The whole movie doesn't work. And I didn't care much for Jeff Daniel Phillips in the role of Herman Munster. He was kind of flat. He was like too goofy, a little over the top, and he just doesn't hold a candle to Fred Gwynne for me. Fred Gwynne was this huge guy with this deep voice, and he was great at comedy. He had that experience from being in Car 54, Where Are You? So he had that comedy skill, so he was just great. Nothing beats Fred Gwynne as Herman. So he just does not fill the shoes, and that's a big problem. Like I said, if you don't get Herman Munster right, he's the main character of the movie. I kind of like how they started off too. It's like the classic Frankenstein story. You've got Dr. Wolfgang and his sidekick Floop, I believe his name was. He's kind of like his sidekick, just like the Frankenstein film, and they're robbing the graves, getting the body parts together to make the creation of Herman Munster, And that had a lot of cool stuff in there, like the old Universal movies, it captured a lot of that spirit. I like that a lot. So, yeah, once again, I gotta give him credit where credit is due. And I like that they used Cassandra Peterson in there. It was nice to see Cassandra Peterson in a role other than Elvira, However, I would have cast her as Lily. I think she would have been absolutely perfect in the role of Lily. She was born for that. But of course, I guess she's too well known as being Elvira. You can't have her playing two classic characters like Lily, who's a classic character, and Elvira, I get that. But it would have been nice. That's who I would have picked if I would have been doing this movie, but it was cool that they had Butch Patrick, too, as the Tin Can Man, so you kind of did have Eddie Munster in the movie, although he didn't play Eddie Munster. And that's another thing, there's two big characters missing from this. You don't have Eddie Munster or Marilyn, so it just stays with the origin story. We never get to that point, which is kind of unfortunate, because I can't see that there's going to be any sequel to this film. It wasn't very well received, Obviously, it's got its hardcore fans, like the Rob Zombie fans are always going to have that, They're going to love anything he does, no matter what. He always has his hardcore fan base, But overall, this movie wasn't very well received, and I can't imagine that there's going to be a sequel, so we're never going to get to see Eddie Munster or Marilyn. And that's a shame. I feel like they're really missing, and those are two major characters from the original series. I also feel that the film is a little bit too long. It does kind of drag in places, They could have trimmed about a half hour out of there for sure. I did like the scene with when they have the Halloween party and everyone in town is dressed in the Halloween costumes, and when you get the Munsters together who basically look like people wearing costumes. The Munsters don't have that much of heavy prosthetic makeup job. It's just like Herman's green, Grandpa's white. There's not a lot of prosthetic makeup going on there. So when you see them mingling, they just look like people wearing costumes, But it's a really fun scene. It's got the cool Rob Zombie style to it with the spooky music in the background, the trippy kind of feel, There's a lot of that 60s, 70s style that he does in all of his movies, and that comes through a lot in that particular scene, I think. There's a super cheesy scene, though, when Herman starts dating Lily, and they get married, and then they go on their honeymoon, and they're just literally walking in front of a green screen. It's so cheesy looking. But yeah, I wish this film didn't just focus so much on the origin story, but it did a halfway decent job at it. Like I said, I love the beginnings where they create Herman, and I like when they see Lily together with Grandpa, and the film takes place in Transylvania in the Carpathian Mountains. So that's a great setting, And And we see Lily dating out in the world, trying to date. You know, she dates Count Orlok from the original Nosferatu film. So I thought that was kind of cool, showing Count Orlok in there, and she doesn't quite fall head over heels for him at all. He's kind of a goofball. So things don't work out for Count Orlok, unfortunately, but it was cool to see him. I also like the character of Lester, who plays Grandpa's son, you know, and he's like a werewolf. Really cool character, and he's always got these get-rich schemes, you know, almost like the Honeymooners, Ralph Cramden. He's got get-rich-quick schemes all the time, and he fools Herman into giving away a lot of money and basically giving away their house. So they have to move to, you know, 1313 Mockingbird Lane. So that's when they finally move to the classic house from the TV series, and you know, and the movie kind of starts falling more in line with the TV series from there, which I liked, you know. I wish we got a little bit more of that, but and you don't really see Herman in the classic costume until the end either, with the suit, you know. I like the fact that he works for a funeral home, though. That's pretty cool. But yeah, in the end, guys, it's, to me, the standard Rob Zombie formula. Even though he is going outside of his comfort zone and making a family-friendly comedy, it still has the same problems that plagued Rob Zombie throughout his career and his direction. And that's unfortunate because it just frustrates me. I feel like he could make a great movie. There's a great movie in Rob Zombie if he just let someone else do the writing for him, you know? And that's why I feel like he's never made a good movie, because half of this is good and half of this is not good, and when you put them together it makes a middle-of-the-road movie, and that's exactly what the Munsters is. It's a middle-of-the-road kind of campy film that's got a lot of problems, just like all of his movies. But obviously this is just my opinion. I know, as I said, Rob Zombie's got the hardcore fan base, but I just wish he would live up to his full potential and let someone else do the writing. And that's my review, guys, for the Munsters. So I give the Munsters 1 devil horn up. Yes, I don't give it 2 devil horns up or 2 devil horns way up. It gets 1 horn. There are some things I like about it, but overall it's not a great film at all. And I feel like the Munsters deserved a lot better. I want to see a great Munsters film that truly lives up to the great TV series, because I love the Munsters. So maybe someday we will see that, but not yet. And thank you for joining me, Sean Patrick Urshan, in the Horror Corner. Tune in and stay scared. Folks, don't forget to grab your Sean Patrick Urshan gear and represent the Horror Corner. Also, check out these awesome mugs we have, perfect for your coffee. And definitely check out the Horror Hangout live stream t-shirt and represent the legacy of the Horror Hangout. Check out the link in the description below this video.